I'm showing them my heart rate variability discovery. I'm showing my Facebook friends my heart rate. It's pretty. It's worth sharing.
Yeah.
World peace now. maybe it'll turn the tide. I don't know. We need something. It's just
as good as anything.
Can you put some coffee on? Can you put a pot of coffee on? Oh boy.
Hey, could you move your car from the back?
Yeah.
Like he was driving to that.
And can I do it like in half an hour?
That's fine.
Hey, it says I have more energy than Superman. That's awesome. Sweet. Wow, this is incredible. It really, it really does get the kind of like gist of things.
I know, that's what I was very impressed with.
I'm really impressed how
Just
it just
it's
covers.
like, physically that part's okay, but you're really stressed and some of that.
Yeah.
tend to think of sleep as a time when the mind and body shut down so we can rest. In reality, sleep is a very active period during which important restorative processes take place. We need about 7 to 9 hours to recover properly. Some people need more, while a lucky few can get by with less. We sleep in cycles, and each cycle lasts about 90 minutes. As you start drifting on, you enter non-REM sleep, which accounts for about 75% of every sleep.
This is funny.
Non-REM sleep includes 20 to 40 minutes of deep sleep. This is when your organs are repaired and hormones are released. It's kind of like getting your car serviced. If you don't get enough deep sleep, your internal organs don't function properly. Moreover, sleep deprivation makes you feel grumpy throughout the day because your body's feel-good hormones, your serotonin and dopamine levels, aren't where they should be. Deep sleep is also when it's most difficult for us to wake up. If your alarm rings when you're in the middle of this important restorative stage, it can leave you feeling groggy and tired. REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, accounts for about 25% of every sleep cycle. People often have intense, vivid dreams during REM sleep, but its primary function is to restore the nervous system and consolidate memory. This is why naps are so useful. They help reboot your brain. Hundreds of studies have established that not getting enough sleep impairs cognitive performance, including attention, working memory, and decision-making abilities. For example, staying awake for 20 hours straight decreases your alertness by 7.5%. Sleep deprivation also impairs emotional intelligence and can lead to a spike in aggressive behavior. In fact, some studies suggest that sleep deprivation is kind of like being drunk, and skipping 1 day's worth of sleep technically makes you legally incapable of driving. If you're having trouble sleeping, all of these are good reasons to work on improving your sleep quality. Here are some tips to get you started. First, use sleep trackers. They'll help you figure out how much sleep you're actually getting and make sure you don't wake up in the middle of a sleep cycle. Second, don't drink alcohol before going to bed. Your body skips important restorative processes when you're under the influence, which means you won't recover properly. Third, stop drinking coffee 6 hours before bedtime. Studies show that drinking coffee can double the amount of time it takes to fall asleep. Fourth, keep your bedroom dark, quiet, and cool. Make sure there is good air circulation in the room. If possible, open the windows before going to bed. Fifth, don't use your smartphone, computer, or watch TV in bed. Studies show that using your bedroom for anything other than sleep and sex can throw off your sleep schedule. Finally, use the Welltory app to check your stress and energy levels in the mornings. If your energy levels look good, it means you're getting enough sleep. If not, try going to bed an hour earlier and see if that helps.
Yo.
Café para ti. That's how I feel every time somebody brings me a cup of coffee too.
Remember, forget. Sunday, June 16th, 2013. Chandika. When Stephen Small fell into hypnosis, re-examining the mechanics of a pendulum's motion, what really happened is he was stunned into rapture by the infinitely subtle swinging of a Devi's hips as she walked, crushing the skulls of Asuras under bangled feet. And thus, Small's career took an unpredictable turn. He followed, his future drawn into formation by the intricacies of a pattern older than time itself. The Devi's anklets tingled, that Mahamaya, and stock tickers flapped their wings, bankers drinking themselves into mahogany corners in New York, markets crashing, cotton oscillating. That great Mandakali standing over them, bare-breasted, red-toothed, her mouth stained pomegranate, pocketing a fold of hundreds strung from a garter and licking her lips with blood. Her countenance like ink, she filled the regions of the sky with roars, and the heads of demons rolled down the mountainsides, gathering into the shoulders of rainstorms in Beijing and Texas. Robust and strange, they called her as she sprinkled a little water with kusa grass. In the northeast, a man named Edward Lorenz was studying atmospheric convection when a bit of this nectar dripped in his morning coffee as he programmed his rudimentary computer. One sip transfixed him. He built a water wheel to catch this divine soma and watched how it turned, causing the universe to whirl about again and again in the dense darkness of the depths of attachment. By you, all this is pervaded, poor Lorenz remarked, and reached through innumerable veils. He caught a glimpse of her strange, ecstatic dance, masked as randomness, exposed as order, a wild tangle on the bare body of consciousness, whose eyes are closed, plotting the places where her feet fell in wide, lonely circles. He made reminiscence butterflies and called them attractors, in a Mendelian revelatory act of love disguised as science. Benoit Mandelbrot, however, was a refugee of the ego and an adoptee of the intuition. So she let him close, like a madman. He was drawn at her side up through the lokas of a heavenly chariot yoked with swans. He sought her likeness in stone and flowers, coastlines, rivers, and the odd distribution of noise in telephone lines. But like any great man plumbing the depths of the universe, he hoped to extract a souvenir, grasping at the threads where time and space crisscrossed at the hem of her sari. He began to pull, unraveling the wiring of eternity in a great sticky web in which he, of course, became trapped. Flooded in a vermilion, self-similar flow of history, he understood the cycling of time, how this great Shandi spun her 1,000 weaponized arms and spilled the karmic seeds of humanity in the dirt in a wild lashing of blades. Wherever one drop fell, a face rose, a life fighting for breath in effort and delusion, only to be stomped out as they struggled to fulfill a fresh rack of desires. Who could understand her? She with the flowing hair whose golden limbs rip you open in search of her love. She who reveals him in the stillness behind the cage of your body. This great Parashakti whose form is the world. Her arms are nada, bindu, kala, her breath, entropy itself, her spirit, change itself. Who could solve her? Watching the carving of her path, a trail of melting glaciers, continental shift through the channel ground of history, kingdoms, villages, bodies stacked behind her, the wreckage of weather. and the synchronistic events we call accidents. One might name her characteristic pattern, sensitive dependence on initial conditions, chaos. Others call it karma. Dear one, she cannot be described and only understood with the heart. But there's a secret language written in all you perceive, predicting her next steps. When the gods are on their knees, the boon-giving hands bitten down to the wrists, the demons collecting worship as death abounds, the fields filled with poison, the ground cooking in anger, the heavens pouring refuse. She who is the source of confusion in every being, the great destroyer at the end of time, will come to level the battlefield. Oh, Chandaki, be merciful. Chandika. Who among us will stand this time when the murderous ones fall? Only your love persists, the moon on his brow, quietly watching your madness in an empty world. Exhaling, he unleashes you the power to burn, and inhaling, draws you back. To what degree do I remain positive in the face of this negative doubt? Cold, alone, icy. Fan blade spins beside, airplane screams above, rain, electric light. Is this techno world like that mud, the mud crusted on my legs, fur, trail, grand portage, hunter, trapper? To some degree, I'd rather hunt than dance techno in Dinky Town from a woman in a robot suit. A millennial's fantasy, a simulation of Kali. A facsimile, plastic and cheap. Beer, filthy. I'll just sit tonight and relax on Washington Avenue Bridge. The negative memory of the past is a blessing and a curse. It's like fiction written from a dead man, only one, but don't mistake it. Most good horror movies start here, by digging up graves. Ancestors, Indian or Confederate, bad, bad, bad. I could blow up Stone Mountain in the wake of Virginia like Napoleon shot off the nose of the Sphinx to prove a point, but it strangely looks a lot like Taliban. Old, dead stone Buddhas blow up to make way for a parking deck. Bullshit, these negative traces are some kind of catalyst. Lost. Spinning out of control venom could be a sign that you are not choosing to face and balance out your shadow self. Music, sonic venom, flush me. Aside myself, splinters from walks through incinerated human pheromones. A flesh and blood instinct to see the eyes and the face of a person. Electric blanket melted my brain today. It's 1984 and I'm at Foxconn in a West Virginia coal mine. Cameras pinging bots in a comedy of errors run by Hal. His red eye there. I can't do that, Dave or Kaya. Pinging loving woman madly around the matrix in a scramble, a mad scramble to just be at peace here in this space, not comfortable with my own karma and spirit. A mad scramble to prevent the shadow self, Azrael, from seeing the light of day, seeing things in dreams and in odd, strange trips to Starbucks with flashes of newspaper headlines that I just don't want to look at as I get my cheap coffee. That's not quite Colombian. These things convince me it's time for a new time here or else. Lamentation, crying for the Burmese Holocaust or the rape of this or that. Speed. The only unifying thing. My love, you here or there, kiss me softly, don't be overt. Big brother might see as he notices the lost 99 cents in that mistaken lost screw or botched order. Love in the Matrix is like a few bits of release, venom, the mating pheromone of a shadow self. I see you like to write and to daydream. That's cute, but you're fired. My only resistance to a capitalist order is the threat of a suicide in silence, knife blade to my wrist or neck. Yes, we scan, but LibCom publishes the poetry of Foxconn workers that dissolve back into the void. I could be aware and conscious of things beyond time and of space, see into the heart of matter, or teach young minds science, but are you on that order? And indigenous resistance might start as a blackened song or a sobbing face down in the water, swimming across Cedar Lake, a secret caress of a lover not there, be it water, earth, or land. Shadow self, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Let them live in peace, but take notes in the machine's depravity. In this panopticon, no one is happy. We're all just trying to survive. A separate piece is to know and remember her smile and scent every chance you get, to assess by being transparent, loyalty from traitor. There are some that enjoy the acceleration and the rush, but I don't. I guess that's okay, but I'm not sure. And to what extent? We need to eat somehow. The sun is up, and it is time to train. Click off 5 more words. I just don't fucking care. She's there, I'm here, he's there. The camera, Big Brother knows. But the cement power its microaggressions, not the chair. So far, it seems good, but I don't trust it. Smells fun. The thin line between armed revolution and peace. Crazy people are not crazy if one accepts their reasoning. Gabriel Garcia Marquez, pastor Rusa John Rudini, is the father of the so-called Christian Reconstructionism, or dominionist theology that had a great influence on the theopolitical vision of the Christian fundamentalism that we see today in the United States. This is the doctrine that feeds the political organizations and networks such as the Council for National Policy and the thoughts of the exponents such as Steve Bannon, currently chief strategist at the White House and supporter of an apocalyptic geopolitic. Evangelical fundamentalism and Catholic integrationalism in the USA, a surprising ecumenism. Antonio Sabordo, La Civilata Catholica. I'd say we are perched on a knife's edge, not you, not me, us, sisters and brothers. When you speak with the tools they give you to speak with, they get you. When you give the machine your soul to trust. When you let your skin, flesh, and blood feel the existential situation we are in. All through my Berkeley PhD days, Stephen Chu led a long series of talks about climate change, how if we didn't act, we'd be fucked as a species. I'd sat there as we bombed Iraq and Afghanistan for oil with the excuse that there were weapons of mass destruction. Salvo after salvo after salvo of depleted uranium into children, young boys and girls, elderly men and women, strong Iraqi men, Afghan, fighting as a resistance, women hiding alone, trying to protect the children, just cooking to keep normalcy, a routine, 3 meals a day, sleep. As the tanks rumbled on, the jets screamed aside every day, another salvo of uranium. Depleted, of course. Ironic, Oppenheimer developed the atom bomb to stop war. We all know that all these rants are just getting a little bit old. Fast forward and we've all felt it. Now we've got Trump. North Korea's got a pretty good ICBM and an atom bomb, and the fragments of ISIL are ready to morph into a wonderful new incarnation of distributed biological and chemical warfare. North Korea just shot a missile across Japan today. We could have kept it in Syria, but a wall, like put a wall around it and let them have their caliphate in that little container, that little box. But no. So us on the left, we just kind of sit here dumbfounded in this tunnel, sitting here, still dumbfounded, not willing to write or think about what it might actually take to restore reason in America and there in the world. I'm not interested in theories or technologies that will save us. There are none. They don't exist. What will save us is us. Perhaps a return to a state of nature where we live in small groups, where the people, actually read and respect the Constitution we were given. Bastille Day today, the kings of the West are children of the revolting masses who stormed the Bastille. Liberté, égalité, fraternité, but it only means something if your life depends on it. We have by and large lost that. Many of us are on the margin of homelessness. I go to a dance church in Minneapolis where dancers come from all parts of the Midwest. We all share that forget our troubles and dance mentality. After all, we are living paycheck to paycheck. Accept yoga, culture, meditate, and hug trees. They're really nice. Well, when you've been to Standing Rock and seen every tree cut down like in the Lorax, you realize you've forgotten something. You've forgotten that you have to protect what you love with your life. The moment you lose the ability to do that, it goes away. When you trust the government to protect you is the moment you commit suicide for your kids because they don't give a shit about you. There are a couple of them hiding in fortresses in Silicon Valley and Madison Avenue, plotting and constructing to extract more and more from you. Those out there who are awakened don't read. Those who want change cannot find it. We're isolated. One awakened soul here. 2 minutes later, bam, to the mental ward. I'm finding hope today. Redneck revolt featured in The Guardian. Armed white trash. Sorry, rednecks. I apologize. Who are LGBT, who are straight, who are just quite normal. Counter-recruiting from the radical right at your average gun show and your monster truck rally. Meeting the Proud Boys, the fascists, the Oath Keepers, and the Nazis in the streets with arms, or at least ready to. However, that's not what it's all about. What it's about is learning to assemble your life to build a community that is truly free. The right to bear arms, to protect the community defense. Community defense, organized labor was decimated for a reason. Enough police and army blood was spilled in the Battle of Blair Mountain to teach the bosses to profile organizers, to take them out before they could serve as a voice for the people, for us. Social media and the internet has given every man and woman the ability to speak for the globe, to the globe, but it's stolen our ability to think clearly. There are actually people that are smarter than you, and perhaps you should listen to them if they give you something that will liberate you. Every major activist surge in this country has met with failure recently when the military comes to shut it down. When you don't build that loyalty to die for your squad mate, as in Standing Rock, when you're not ready to go to war. They should have listened to those praying Lakota elder women and kept it there for a couple years, but that's all done, meditating on history now and incubating, plotting and planning, assembling a posse for war so that we can live in peace.
Seminar has been the collection of history classes that never had. Really rich and native culture, and at home we don't have as much diversity in the subjects offered. What I learn about will be relevant to me and my legal career.
Charlottesville, Virginia. Impeach. There's a necessity to breathe and to smash chains inside through breaths of crystallized patience, breaths pulled through crystallized patience, to assassinate the fascist inside you, polemical and angry. Do so now before the tribulation comes, an imminent black hole, only selecting those with the right genes able to survive in a spacecraft on the way to Mars. Antifa. No racism, no nationalism, no anti-Semitism, no discussion, no freedom. The tools are there to build a new tomorrow, like Star Trek Universal Translator, to understand that we're all the same, to bounce back and forth between servers and bots and phones and computers and people behind them, all linked together in some kind of strange mesh, or perhaps a matrix.
It was very interesting.
Perhaps that's that trace of data, that large assembly of linkages, is perhaps just to understand that we're all the same. DNA, RNA, and protein, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, stardust.
International externship opportunities.
new weathers. The sum of a field's forces become what we will call very loosely the spirit of the place. To know the spirit of a place is to realize that you are a part of a part, and that the whole is made of parts, each of which are in a whole. You start with the part you are whole in, Gary Snyder. Surrealism these days might be that only way to really penetrate it all, to give it to you as a coherent whole, as a gift wrapped in a bow. We know too much have reduced her to bits, ones and zeros, disembodied and lost, yet we're here right now. You are right here, right now, listening to this voice in this place, embodied and breathing air that I once exhaled long ago. Air is quite old. The co-rising and interconnectedness of the multiverse, you and I. This poem came from somewhere in a dream channeled into here, into this space, my love, behind a screen, bleeping and pinging on and on and on. This is just a dream and a simulation in a small tunnel somewhere that's not quite that comfortable. I know too much about very little chemistry, atoms in resonance with you, and here, and I here we breathe in and out. Surrealism is dream language and an archive portal. You can see my memories of facts and traces of lectures and slides. That's all gone now. I've got my dreams and my memories, my DNA and my RNA and proteins and the force fields that guide the way they move and they shake. In reality, in you and I, it's just quite elemental. There are not 100 elements. There are actually 4: earth, water, wind, and fire. This is not a delusion, illusion. To know the parts and assemble a picture here in this space takes these 4 basic elements, combine them in alchemical ratios in your mind and in your soul and in your body. That's all there really is there. You, little I and or big I. It does not matter to know the spirit of a place, to meditate. That is to realize that you are a part of a part, and that the whole is made of parts, each of which is a whole. You start with the part you are whole in. For me, these 4 fragments of the 100, an ancient trace, no longer a chemist. From now on, it's alchemy, and alchemy alone. It's not experiments, it's magic and transmutations. I start where I am whole, that is here with this page and traces of light and dark on a screen and paint. I paint a picture freely of dreams, sometimes with my own blood, and of conscious fragments all bouncing around on just white paper. It's quite simple. In and out, flowing as words, the wilderness of archive, of decolonized mind, hive mind, the matrix, wild minds, grids and mappings. I don't see them. Every trace on the screen I see through the human. I see to the human. I see through the screen to the human on the other side of the desk. I listen to the voices that are real. This is a real place in a real space, and it's here that I live. Surrealism might be that Jack Kerouac school for disembodied poetics, but it always comes back down to these basic 4 things: earth, water, wind, and fire. Gritty and dirty language obsessed with details of pain and suffering, only to point up and in, into you and into the sky, only to drop the screen, to penetrate what is all quite simple, just 4 elements and ratios. Our weathers, brewing and storming, coherent and fluid. This is magic. Only this alone should you see here in this place for now. But wait and sit. Tomorrow will be another day. The friend will call you and you will drive home. You will dream and I will dream of what only you know. Big I, that master alchemist in the sky. An illusion of words, but one to pray to just the same. Line 3, Rachel. A person metaphor, aging, sick, bright. A liability, too smart. Talk back in class. Teacher said, it's pronounced Yosemite. No, she said, it's Yosemite. Don't be smart. Click, click, click. What's the cost of this? To press delete on her. Control, Alt, Delete don't work. A bender to kill the pain. It's dogs leading sheep. An eagle without prey. Kills herself to know and hide in a bottle where a set of pills arrest her, criminal black. 5 to 15 for suicide by the bottle, needle, or pill. Does anyone ask why you, old, incompetent, disabled, could be your own mother or mine? To what end is all of this going? This uberification of life, replacing bodies with silicon. It motivates me to join the black snake killers. Cut off the lifeblood of it all. Cut it off at the source. One direct action at a time. Building steam, steady supply lines lasting the winter. Line 3, no more. A death of one saves another. Another day, another pipeline. 44 degrees, 59 minutes, 25 arc seconds north. 93 degrees, 15 minutes, 20 seconds west. Black hole sun. The Green Heart Collective. Donald Trump finds improbable ally in WikiLeaks. New York Times, October 12, 2016. Garcia's overall health appears to be good, notwithstanding a strenuous work schedule. He has clearly gained weight over the past several months. This shows both in press photos and private meetings, and his slightly larger jowls and growing paunch. Reports of manic depressive illness or bipolar disorder are impossible to confirm, but reports in this connection are widespread. For example, many of our contacts with purported first-hand knowledge of, say, Garcia has always been moody, disposed to sudden flights of enthusiasm, plunges of black humor, bad humor, and abrupt changes of mind. Many of the more damaging rumors appear to have their origins in the latter part of Garcia's first term, when his popularity plummeted and the political and security situation spiraled out of control. According to some reports in response, Garcia at one point fell into a deep funk, locked himself behind closed doors, and refused public contact of any kind for days on end. While that report continues to hound him, there are no indications that it responds to a long-standing or deep-set dimension of his psychological or emotional well-being. Peru. President Garcia's emotional and physical health, CIA report, WikiLeaks. President Garcia says, "I'm not offended by WikiLeaks personality profile." Newspaper, living in Peru. From Peru, Lima, markings not assigned to the Central Intelligence Agency Secretary of State. Black hole sun, whose light shines from heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. You give us this day our daily bread. You forgive us our trespasses. You empower us to forgive them that trespass against us. Breathing in your holy void, lead us not into temptation. You deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Youth. They go into the world innocent and wordy, called in all the directions I would want to go, multiplying their 20s to the year 2000 when I was young and closer to the faith. Half my friends were leftists and professors who could read the news. When they were born, they knew that kings must either reign or die. Many a youth will turn from a student to a tiger, seeking his final quarry in the grave. Seeking her final quarry in the grave, our blasphemous, unavoidable last mother. Nourished on slow, cold debaucheries, the bitter, dry pelt of feline undulation in her harlot doors of colored beads, she holds youth, old as Michelangelo, to her bosom, Robert Lowell. Yosemite Camp 4, jihadist white helmet water protector. The zeitgeist of every age is like a sharp east wind which blows through everything. You can find traces of it in all that is done, thought, and written, in music and painting, in the flourishing of this or that art. It leaves its mark on everything and everyone. Arthur Schopenhauer. The Matrix stops here. Neo is a resident of Gattaca that doesn't fit into the genetic norm of his birth tribe. The people of the white shrouds are a bullet train speeding off its tracks, dephased like atoms in a Berkeley nuclear magnetic resonance machine by a pulse field gradient. Cyber mobs, anonymous, may be the greatest judge for them in front of Skynet. Digital oil residues pollute their civic society from left to right. Leaks and images, cyber trauma to the masses. The railroad tracks of the cloud are being turned into factions, driven together by old tribal identities from prehistoric African population explosion. Neo flows along, delivering a set of principles from swimming upstream that want to wash away and dissolve into the matrix of the normal. Welcome to the desert of the real. Today's mass homogenization. Face mixer, blender of souls, ripping apart those who question and speak. Yet Neo wakes up as a man who cloaks his fingerprints just long enough to escape and write back. Words on a cloud screaming for difference, for a return to nature, for pastoralist poets. Ansel Adams fought his own government with images, photographs, light on steel and black plastic pigments. Leaving a residue of frozen water on the steel rails of the cloud, Neo knows his DNA is immortal, as is everyone else's. Each of us has an immortal soul waiting for liberation. Greenpeace wages the melting of the binary cold cyber war. Mother Nature's protectors are awake. Shortwave radios cloak their movement with fluxional Lakota verse, delivering attacks that melt the rails. These are the verses of the goddess. Isis is Kali, the divine mother. She's returning, but only in the veil of those like Neo, who must learn to wear a veil like her, subtle and mystical. More seduction, less muscles, encrypted and austere, cold because Skynet is a machine. Neo can find him, or perhaps better still, his sisters wrapped in alienated steel and glass soul traps. Perhaps she is a woman who is living half awakened from slumber in Silicon Valley, raped at Burning Man. It's either escape or burn the man. Perhaps she's in a small junior Catholic college in Fukushima, Japan, struggling to deal and cope with the tragedy of it all. Fallout from a wave. The fall of man is the birth of the age of the divine feminine, and intelligence adapted to healing a sea of infinite lost souls, delivering love, milk, and food. To understand why I feel the way I do is to deconstruct the anatomy of violence. What is the root of this ungroundedness, this strange confusion I feel in this tunnel right now? Skateboarders just rumble by as I struggle to speak. I now know, after years of continental drift, melting ice, friction, and resistance all block, waters flow from the frozen north, ice caps of my eyes, embrace the heat and be at peace with change, cry, and let the tears from Mother Earth erupt like water from a geyser in Yellowstone. Here in a deep recess of a volcanic abyss. Neo's soul says, after all, fire goddess is like Pele built America from molten black, white, and red-hot homogenized liquid rock. Know that you've learned from past generations. However, it's like free climbing in Yosemite, fraught with danger. The joy of ascent, be it in climbing, love, verse, politics, or science, has to be tempered. However, it all depends on what route you choose. To topple a government, it takes just a single catalyst, the right catalyst, of course. Only lunatics try to freeze back the soul waters of the entire earth, back with Ice 9. Freeze the vapor of the moist electric cloud with an energy that drives back the idea that I'm a clean-cut white boy. I'm a bruised and battered PTSD, card-carrying veteran of cyber war.
Try and save people's lives.
Soul conflict. Seeing the realities of today and fighting it hard. Poetry is my kung fu. I deliver sharpness with the love of an oppressed people like a bipolar man split between a peace-loving dove and the Hitorokobis Batusai hunting their oppressors with a blade. It provides a means of transparent obfuscation. His programmer friend says of his blog titles like, "Are you Muslim and sick of American hypocrisy and terrorism in your homeland? Don't go to Burning Man and join ISIS. It's haram. Join me in burning the man with science. It's halal." That's a Markov chain. It's for you to see that the frame of today rests on melting ice, except the shattering glass of collapsing skyscrapers, as you do with the collapsing of the ice sheets in the warming earth. Greenland will soon be a green land again. The Arctic Ocean will be a hotly contested trade route. The Antarctic will soon be a source of oil, fossilized liquid carbon, long hidden away from the greedy fingers of humanity by ice. Not anymore. Drill, baby, drill. The American empire is over. Drill into the heart of the average American neo and reveal their true nature. Indigenous cultures are coming up from the margins, unstoppable forces of diversity. Appealing to a bleached social scene of sameness, the matrix of mass synchronizing wave packets, Neo screams with his demon blood-soaked blade. Humanity is not a Bose-Einstein condensate. We are not one. Billionaire internet tycoons build fortresses to hide themselves from the faces of the traumatized masses affixed to screens like heroin addicts awaiting the next hit. They are most of all afraid of people like Neo, nothing to lose and obsessed with the liberation of his billion-bodied tribe, finding appeal in the glow of an artificial screen that I type on glass and metal. A forbidden apple of knowledge. Mark, if you're listening, I took the left-hand path at the Sacred Stone and Standing Rock Reservation the day of dogs and of gas, and revealed to contain the same energy as the Kaaba stone, but feminine, and went to write with the hand closest to my heart. However, before I left, I prayed with the tobacco in my left hand, the black snake, the oil pipeline that powers your machine, thousands of them. Skynet's mother would never cross the Missouri. Neo and others like him had seen that it's ex machina. They're insane enough to see that art could be possible deus ex machina. Gorged on trains of trauma from rails diverging from the Middle East to Europe and America, all converging in my soul, saw the convenience of your social experiment. Islam is scary to a minority in control of banks and machines that have convinced the American masses that it's just a good idea to consume. A suicide delivered on your apparatus, a packet of death with no body or face delivered electronically via images on a Facebook page. A banker's daughter hanging from a fan, buried on 9/11, was a wake-up call to fight with words and differentiate into a wanderer, to save kids from the flesh-melting horrors of American-manufactured white phosphorus raining down on the Gaza Strip, to save their long-lost cousins spread around Mother Earth from Lakota yellowcake uranium, forged into atom bombs carried by rockets made in Germany, guided by Silicon von Neumann brains, computers. His insanity is most of all to save himself from others like him, from chemists who think they know the brain, to save his children from psychiatric genetic editing, to resist CRISPR-Cas9 eugenics trained on his kind by Skynet, the thought police gifting the Matrix periodically with Soma. Riding cyber rails, train hopping and couch surfing my way to nowhere, riding along the way, reporting back to an unseen set of servers nowhere, buried in the same mountains that were hollowed out to build the Pacific Railroads. Matrix, it's on. War. Yosemite learning today, sitting in the valley. Walls spoke this truth to me in Camp 4. Your rock and ice hold an ocean of tears of love for you, Mother Earth, hiding in a veil. Women of today, be they human, planetary, or divine, be that there is a hope, a small one, of true liberation, balance, by finding some kind of small pushback, but see it as tango, the dance we all walk inside and out. The tears are for a loss of the ground to stand on. Exhausted, I climb 1, 2, 3 steps up and down. I heal like Israel from the Holocaust.
Fukushima Angel, know when to walk away. just outside Sakura no Seibo Junior College, Fukushima, Japan. Radioactivity 0.36 plus micro SVH. She is there in a small tiny apartment, cold and alone. Beaten by life, optimistic. A smile graces her face. Surrounded by madness, sane. They said, know when to walk away. To get out of the burning car and take that first step. To walk away before the flames touch the gas tank, before she can't work. To walk away before the neurons fail and it gets too hard. The ambient air shimmers with heat, microscopic nanoparticles of fallout. This Fukushima angel is the future, our future anywhere around here. Waters are rising and tempers are simmering to a boil. She lights a joint, California Kush shipped in via UPS. This is now, here, there or anywhere. What is it to be alive when the car's on fire and you're just walking away? Where is love and home when it's in a box, 5 or 10 on a truck driving to a new hood? Survival mode and nothing more masks the subtlety and grace of the city cloaked in a thin veil of fallout. Just enough to cause her eggs to mutate 0.0001% faster, to what no one knows. His sperm count was in the red. It was a lost cause. Their marriage was a waste of time. Earth is on fire and there's nowhere to go. Just hop out the car and run. The war on drugs is on her, on him. It's one day in the life of the postmodern couple and we're all looking for answers. Apple Store, Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. Ambient noise level minus 75.9 decibels. He is there typing on an Apple Macintosh laptop, cold and alone. Beaten by life, optimistic. A smile graces his face. Surrounded by madness, sane. The screen to the right promises human contact that costs nothing other than the purchase price of an iPhone, a photo walk in local surroundings. Off work for the week from UPS, afraid his analytics scores are not high enough to meet the cut. The metaphors of this adult kid's hour are not that opaque. It's going to be an admiration fest of big houses, manicured gardens, front yards, birdhouses, and fountains. Boring, at least to him. He checks his Facebook account for the 10th time in the afternoon, realizing that his friend Kate in Amsterdam has some questions. She writes of his short story post, nicely written, and what is the concept? To run? On what side? To where? Or will we all be lost? Can she get off the island? Will all marriages be useless? Will they go live underground? How long? I am building food forests for after the apocalypse. Wow. Very end times. Fukushima is a horror for all of us. I don't dare swim, nor eat fish. No more. He writes back, I'd love a paragraph from you. She replies, wink, smile, haha, emoticon. I'll think about it. Cool, yeah. First World War III, revelation. This woman? She's fine. She understands our situation very well. She's sane, living in the end times of what we don't know. Age of Aquarius, he writes back. To map the normal hysteria of his baseline existence in real time, giving the real-time data stream away as entertainment, is his dream. In all that, the first thing to do in a time of panic is to know where the noise is. The ambient noise of panic, joy, mayhem, ecstasy, and agony. The birth pains of a dream, a silent city with nothing but humans and spaces. No electricity, no speed, silence. To visualize the screams of terror of the masses as they withdraw. What will it take? To be subtle at first, to cloak the intention of the project in a veil of good intentions. It begins as a survival strategy, a plan for answers in an infinitely complex Gordian's knot. Walking home, he picks up an ounce of weed from his friend DMT Max and a set of Ziploc freezer bags. Picked fresh from the foothills of Mount Shasta last week, he drops the fragrant, medicinal herb purchased from the Shasta Green Heart Collective into the Ziploc bags and wraps them for shipping. He writes her address on the envelope Sakura no Seibo Junior College, Fukushima, Japan, and drives to the UPS store. He mails it UPS Air Express and goes to work. He wants to go legit, to live a good life. To be like his parents wanted him to be, a smart, beautiful wife, 2.5 kids, a dog, a 3-bedroom home, and a white picket fence. To not give a shit. To be cold, and care about nothing but North Face jackets, iPhones, cars, and house drapes. There's a long way to go from here to there. It's impossible to him now. He gets lost in yoga, cheap beer, dancing, and poetry. Head in the clouds because the ground is full of pain, full of suffering, sonic noise, a cacophony of voices, cars, and computers. He wants it all silent, like the woods. Yet, he craves attention, affirmation, and the presence of others. Where to find that? In Facebook, or on a walk around the Apple store? In a book, or in a bar? Where? This, then, is how you should pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Matthew 6-9.
19, a history student.
Fukushima Angel. Know when to walk away. Late afternoon, March 11th, 2011. Just outside Sakura no Saibo Junior College, Fukushima, Japan. Radioactivity 0.36 microsvedbergs per hour. She is there in a tiny, small apartment, cold and alone, beaten by life, optimistic. A smile graces her face, surrounded by madness, sane. They said, know when to walk away, to get out of the...
Okay. I think the solution to all this big oil to combat, to ward off big oil, is to widely get into the wind energy and solar energy. That's how we will beat big oil. And I know change is hard, but that is one thing that we will need to do, is to change our thought. Even though it may look like we have to go back to the old ways, which I know was the best way. We have to do that to a point. And that's just in all the tribes. Like with my tribe, I have no idea what their stance is. I have no idea what the stance is for our tribe.
Right.
But I have not seen nothing, no wind energy or solar energy yet.
Right.
And so it's going to have to, as a whole, our tribe, our leadership, either they need to step down and let the young ones step up and start leading the way.
Right.
Or our old folks, they need to really realize what this new technology that we have these days, that our young ones can do. That's what it comes down to. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's the intention of why I'm teaching science in the school with the 7-year-olds,
Yeah.
the 8-year-olds, the 9-year-olds, the 10-year-olds. The thing is, there's a guy out there in Pine Ridge named Henry Red Cloud. He has a company called Lakota Solar Enterprises.
Oh,
I went out there in April and May, and I saw him doing solar. Here's the thing, though, about that operation.
Solar?
Yeah, with Henry's operation.
Oh, okay.
They're not really reaching the youth at all. There's no effort to engage Lakota youth. There's minimal effort, zero. His own children don't help, His own family doesn't help him. He just goes out single-handedly and installs solar heaters on the res, which is cool.
Yeah.
Definitely cool. But there's no real educational or pedagogical or storytelling or anything that's going to create that shift in consciousness. Because it's not going to be you put in money's not going to solve it.
No, it's not.
Technology is going to, you could drop 1,000 solar panels on this camp and nothing would happen. Right?
Listen.
Zero. People would just use more energy.
Yeah, exactly.
They'd blow out their batteries faster on solar.
Yeah.
Because the shift hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Or the shift is happening maybe slowly. But You know, it's like there's I actually think the number one thing is the shift in linguistic consciousness. So if we actually look back at the language and look at our relationship with time, our relationship with space, our relationship with matter, and our relationship with Earth and the universe, the sun, and we go back and really look at those words and the phrases and what they actually meant at that time, and maybe what they mean today to certain cultures that actually haven't seen the European at all. You know, there's a tribe, I remember they were saying when the tsunami hit, I don't know if you remember the big old earthquake in Indonesia, Malaysia or whatever. Basically there was this tsunami that comes in, and there was some particular tribe that was really remote in an island somewhere. They had never seen anybody or something like this. This is how the story goes, at least. And their consciousness of time was such that it was embedded in their language, in the mind. There's no past or future. There's only present. Words that get you to think about the future, somehow there's a difference. I was reading another book called something about metaphysics, whatever, but Vin Deloria Jr.'s book, Quantum Mechanics. Hopi and Zuni language gives a better understanding for the individual consciousness, person, man or woman, child, of quantum mechanical space-time. Why do I say that? If you understand that, if a person understands that they're a particle or a wave that's collapsing into a particle,